Right, okay, so I'd just like to say hi Donald, my name's Lisa and this is the Cry Freedom Show at criticalmassradio.co.uk, broadcasting from the UK, and it's great to get the chance to speak to you, Donald. Welcome to Critical Mass Radio, and how are you today?
Thanks, I'm glad to be here. Pretty good today, I guess. Just been worse, you know.
Alright, I'd just like to say, I first became aware of you some time ago, probably about a year or so ago, and I got to see some of your interviews that were on YouTube, and I did listen to a number of them, and it's great to have you here, great to have the chance to talk to you directly. So thanks for agreeing to do this, and I think you said this was your first UK interview.
Yeah.
I've got to just tell people it's pretty in-your-face scary stuff, this, which no doubt a lot of people out there are going to find incredibly hard to take in. And I'm not making any judgments either way. I'm just giving you the opportunity to tell your side of it all based on your experiences, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you've got a lot of stuff to tell us along the sides of exposing the so-called Illuminati for what they're doing. So perhaps, Donald, you could just start off by giving us a little bit of background information on yourself, and how you got into all of this, and when you first became aware of what was happening to you, and you got involved with this. And I know some of this is directly involved with your mother and how she was a sex slave with the Illuminati, so if you want to start on those lines, that would be fantastic.
Okay, well, let's see. It started when I was 5 years old, only I was memory repressed back then. Everybody, all kids that are brought there to the cloning station are memory suppressed. I didn't know I was a clone at the time. I thought I was blasted into another dimension, something.
Sure.
Well, originally I was brought there to be what they call a diddle kid. They call it a diddle kid. And my mother knew all about it. My mother was there. She was there when she was younger as one of these people. She basically sold me out for free. But only it wasn't going so good, I'd just scream and cry. And they said, well, what else can you do? Can you do anything in or dancing? So I sang out this song, and a famous person used it, and then more famous people started coming to this specific cloning station I was at, and it just got worse and worse, and just kept on making songs to keep the greasy old people off me, and then it just went out of control, and then they started thinking that I was some kind of freak, like some kind of link to God or something, because I come up with these songs out of thin air. Like, the way that they do these cloning things, it's a different kind of cloning. There's the one where it comes up from a baby, it's replication cloning, but this is duplication cloning. They grow a fully formed duplicate of you, and they grow them like 5 at a time, because sometimes they come out grown twisted. They have a malformed hand or something. So they scrap them, throw them in the chipper, and go with the other 4 for backup bodies. But the way that they do it, they can only put you into one of these kind of clones. It's called a Mark II REM driven clone. They can only put you into one of these clones when you're fully into REM sleep, which happens like after about an hour and a half after you fall asleep. You go into REM sleep. They just have a machine next to your clone that's on a rack, and it's laying there like a dead body, breathing real shallow and stuff, and it's got a feeding tube down the throat, and when a light comes on a machine next to your clone, somebody presses a button on a remote, it says this light says that you're in REM sleep, full in REM sleep, and they can activate you then. If they activate you before that, you'll be all disoriented and you go psycho and stuff. But yeah, so when you're in REM sleep, they can just bring you there. I tried to do the alarm clock thing, but when you wake up, and you go back to sleep again, you just go right back into REM real fast. That's how it works. It's rapid eye movement, stage of sleep. That's how they do it. They call it a consciousness transfer. They transfer your consciousness into a clone, and they basically just give up their ability to have dreams and nightmares, and they just go there and walk around, talk, doing stupid stuff. Like, they started doing it around 1944 or 45. And it was all politicians, but then they got bored of that. Like, they were thinking they would keep the whole world in line and everything. And under the threat of clone torture, because they can kill you remotely from the cloning center, they'll give you an aneurysm. If they apply a constant state of pain to your clone, you'll die in real life. Either that night or the next day, you'll have a brain bleed, aneurysm, stroke thing. Yeah, so...
Okay, Donald, sorry, just to go back, I can just go back a little bit. The way you first got into this is because your mother was involved in it and she was actually a sex slave, is that right?
Oh yeah. It's been going on for so long that they say that she was there when she was a kid. Like I'm not sure if she was there then, but she's been there for a long time. Her brothers and sisters, they're all scared to talk, and well, they've seen other people get killed before for even considering talking, right?
Sure.
Like I thought that I would have been dead last year by now, but
Sure.
turns out they actually want me to talk about them.
Okay.
They wanted, well, they made me think that they didn't want me to talk about them, but they actually do. They want cloning and the lizards and the hosts shut down. The only thing is they didn't want me to tell about these head chips that they got, and this other thing about gold that is absolutely ludicrous sounding, but I gotta say it anyway, because, you know, it's just different technologies that they have that you wouldn't think that they would have yet.
Sure.
They
Okay.
have them.
Donald, sorry, you said that basically you've been memory repressed since you were 5, and you said that when you got to about the age of 30, they actually reversed the memory repression, yeah? And then you went through this process which is called the awakening. Do you want to tell us what that is exactly?
Sure. Well, they test you when you're there. They say, if we let you in on this, are you going to tell on us? And they give you a truth serum, sodium pentothal. They can scan your head to see if you, kind of like a lie detector type of thing, scan your head, see if you're deceptive or whatever. The way that I got to be unrepressed was, like, I had to let them know that I was their ally, friend, or they were just going to leave me memory repressed about it, and I'd never be able to seek help. I was just going to go to the police. Little did I know the police are involved.
Exactly, yeah,
And,
exactly. I was just going to say, there's these two types of cloning. You said there's this cloning that there's when you're from a baby, basically, but there's also this duplication cloning, which is done in a sort of a test tube type glass thing. And they have, you said that there's different marks of cloning from 1 to 4. Do you want to just talk about that a little bit for us?
Sure. Well, I guess the Russians, this was actually on the internet. I was overjoyed when I first started mailing around because I'd never gone on conspiracy pages and stuff or looked up stuff. And I go on to the internet to tell people about it, and they're already talking about a little bit of it. So I was like, yes, this isn't going to be as hard as I thought. So anyway, Mark 1 clone is, they call it, I don't know why, they call it an organic robotoid. Even though there's no robotic parts in it, it's all organic. They call it a robotic or organic robotoid, but they don't use them anymore because they're so primitive.
Okay.
They got more side effects. You're more confused when you're a Mark 1, and they're REM driven as well. They're primitive though. They come up to, like, messed up looking sometimes, so they don't use them anymore. They just use the Mark 2s. Mark 3 is a run around all the time clone, like no REM needed. They can, well, there's 2 different ways. They can have it run around as a set consciousness, or they can do a duality thing where, like, it's weird. It's you have to, in real life, you'd have to do absolutely nothing, like, and totally concentrate on walking and talking around as this clone. You get like a weird, like a double vision type of thing. You gotta close your eyes and concentrate. They don't go so good. Like, and Mark 4 is supposed to be like top of the line. I don't even know that much about them. Hillary Clinton got caught on camera in her Mark 4 in 2 different places in the country, on purpose. On purpose. She actually got in trouble at the cloning station because they were like, you were seen on camera on purpose and you're double. And she was like, no, it was an accident, but she just wanted it discovered. They all want it discovered so that they can get away. So
the next place to go into with all of this, Donald, I think, is then this cloning station thing, because this is a big thing in everything that you're talking about, the cloning stations, and everything that you're saying is based on the way that the elites and the people that are controlling this world are using what you were saying are these cloning stations to their own ends. And what in effect is happening here is that people, celebrities, well-known people, good-looking children, etc., etc., are being cloned by the powers that be in these cloning stations for the use of the elite to go there for sort of sexual reasons, all sorts of horrible really awful, evil reasons. They go to these cloning stations to do this and take part in these exercises, parties, whatever you want to call them, yeah?
Yep, and torture people. They run them through these things called MK Ultra scenarios. They can put a chip in the clone's head, and they can implant sound, like visualizations, better than computer graphics and everything.
Right.
Your own brain will extrapolate the missing pieces of these scenarios and stuff. They make people think that they're secret agents and they're on a mission, all kinds of stuff. They run people around. Like, they make people think that they've been abducted by aliens. They have a set with a fake saucer and everything. It's got a ramp leading up to it. It's small, and on the inside it's all decked out, and they clone people into the place, make them open up their eyes on the table, and they're surrounded by, like, these alien guys with fake masks on that are all going to, like, take turns on this person, and they freak out, and then they wake up the next morning, they think they've been abducted, and they have archives of abduction porn. I don't know, they don't get bored of it. They do it to just random people. All you gotta be is good looking, or, you know, they don't discriminate.
Okay, I think at this point then, Donald, it might be good for you to actually say, if you can, how you've been actually let in to see all this, what reason that you've actually, just so people understand how you've been aware of all of this that is going on, what your kind of insight and why you've been there, sort of thing, yeah?
Yep. And it explains why I wasn't killed yet.
Yeah,
everybody else gets wiped.
Sure.
Well, when I was 5, I'll just say straight out, Queen Elizabeth was there.
Okay.
She goes there. She owns the specific cloning station that I'm at. It's an above ground one. Most of them are all in the deep underground bases.
And this is where, Donald, the one that you're talking about. This is where.
The one I'm talking about is in Western Canada somewhere. It's within 5 hours drive of the Robert Picton farm.
Sure.
The pig farm where all the prostitutes were killed.
Okay.
They recorded those murders, by the way. They called them snuff films, and they watched them at the cloning center, all these prostitutes getting killed. There's all kinds of that with the Picton thing. But anyway...
We'll go into that in a minute, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm there at 5. They're messing with me. I start singing songs. And they said, we'll just use them for songs. And then it got into other ideas for stuff. And then everybody wanted to see this amazing song kid, come and see the amazing song kid. And Elizabeth was treating me like I was her pet dog. And my mother was all for it. And she got more attention there.
Just interrupt for a second, Donald, excuse me, but you said this is done by families a lot. It is a family thing. Families get family members involved in this, yeah?
Yeah, but you don't have to be born into it.
Okay.
You just have to be semi-attractive or have some kind of a skill that they want to use or steal from you. So anyway, after I made about 50 songs there, people started saying that I might be some kind of religious significance. And then they're talking to me about, I was just a little kid, and they're talking to me about these prophecies, Nostradamus prophecies and everything, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And they said, they start going into religious stuff, saying, oh, maybe he's the lamb, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I never had any kind of, well, later on in life I'd tell them I never had any kind of visions or heard anything, and I really don't think that I am. And they wanted me to be a part of this Project Camelot thing. Well, there was a bunch of kids there, candidates for it. It was to be a figurehead, like a religious figurehead, during atomic catastrophe in the future. They were going to have someone to attempt to control the population, like by talking them through a big catastrophe. Then, they were planning on leading people into underground bases and messing them up, depopulating and stuff. And there is a lot to say. Over the past 32 years, they told me so much stuff. Like, the reason that I know all this stuff, after I said all the songs and stuff, everybody thought I was Mr. Cool Kid. They all wanted to meet me. How do you think up these songs? What's your favorite food? This and that. What's your favorite color? Anything. And then the politicians, who used to get all the attention and everything, they were like put on the back burner. So then they came out to, interact with me too. So then, at the cloning center, what they do, sometimes politicians will do a little bit of acting or make lines for movies, and the actors and stuff will be able to have some kind of a say in world politics slightly. Like, it's like a trade-off. Like, it's very boring there. They don't have anything to do. Now, they all use me as, like, the catalyst for, like, this. They call it the show sometimes. They call it the show. There's nothing to do there. After you've had sex, and there's all the sex stuff, and you do the fighting stuff, the death sports stuff, there's nothing else to do. Like, what do you do after that? Go have some more sex or something? There's just nothing to do. So they said that I'm like the entertainer there, and it's like the most amazing thing how I made a song out of thin air and nothing to keep myself from getting hurt. Like, at first, the songs came pretty easy, but then they started to trickle down, so they started to threaten me. And then that worked, so I made more songs, and then they started to torture me, torture clones of me. And so then that worked too, to get them to stop torturing me. I'd sing songs, and they just kept on doing that for years and years and years. And it messed up my heart. I didn't even know what was going on in real life.
Donald, can I just ask a question here? One of the things that a lot of us believe is that, obviously that is what you're saying, it fits in with what you're saying, is that a lot of the songs that are produced by a lot of the mainstream singers are done for a reason by the Illuminati to kind of get a message out but not get a message out. So are you saying that that's what you've been doing for them, basically, yeah?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to it. There's like some inner politics there, like, they all know, they all want to hint at it to get it shut down, but they don't want to stick their own neck out because people have been killed before. So they're using me because in the past I agreed to do their whole play Jesus thing, but it was a deception on my part because I just wanted to get unmemory repressed so I could tell the world and get this stuff shut down.
Donald, at this point, can I just introduce Dave, that I think you've spoken to on Facebook anyway, Dave Lloyd, wants to say hi to you.
Yep.
Hi, mate, hi, mate. Can I just ask him a question, Lisa, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave, yeah.
Yeah, I can't get my head around this. So what you're saying is, if somebody's in bed and they're in REM, rapid eye movement sleep, they don't have to go to the cloner station. There's something at the cloner station that clicks on and says he or she is asleep, and that consciousness is transferred to the clone. Is that it, Donald?
That's exactly it. And I'm not sure if a head chip implant is required.
With the consciousness on it?
Yeah, well, no, the consciousness is borrowed, because when the person wakes up in their real body, the clone drops limp. It drops limp to the floor. So they always try to stay sitting in the stands, because different people have dropped limp, like limp noodle, just right to the floor, and they break their elbows, they crack their head off the concrete floor.
So it's just like Avatar, the film, then, isn't it?
It is exactly like Avatar, and even before Avatar came out, like, I was telling people about this stuff, and they put that Avatar film based on Mark II REM clone.
Now, Donald, would the people who's asleep, who's been cloned, would they be aware of what was going on, or would they just have an ordinary night's sleep?
They would have a sleep where they wouldn't remember their dream. They would think, oh, I just can't remember what I dreamt last night. It's like that for everyone that happens with. Now, they have the option, the powers that be have the option of allowing you to remember this or not. But once they do the awakening thing on you, they can't keep the memory from you anymore. It's you get them every time. Every time they activate you, you will remember it the next day. And it's not like remembering a dream, and it's not like feeling like a dream. It's just normal as normal. They can give you an injection to make you feel fuzzy, so it'll feel like a dream, but it's just normal. You're walking around, you slap yourself in the face. It's just normal. It's crazy. They let me do a bunch of stuff there. Like, they turned my pain sensors off, let me stab myself up. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, they thought I was an ally.
I wonder how much these clones actually cost to make. It must cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I know money's probably an object.
No, the thing is, they don't cost that much. I'll tell you, it sounds like really odd. It's mostly just maintenance. The thing is, what they used to do, they say they can do it with blood now, but they used to have to get a tissue sample from the person, and they used to have to agitate the tissue, and agitate it, and then the white blood cells start to heal, and it just heals. it just goes and goes and heals and heals and heals until it's a fully formed thing, and it just grows a whole nother you. And then they just tested with it, and then they figured out how to put the consciousness into the clone. Man. So, yeah, it's really far out tech that they got. You wouldn't think they'd have this for like another 500 years.
Okay, Donald, one of the things I just wanted to say to you was that a lot of people I know have asked you why you're still here, basically, given on a few of the things that you've said, and you have actually said that because of what you're saying, because you're saying now that they can actually, because if they've got a clone of you, they can actually apply an electronic current to the head of the clone that will kill the person, yeah? And you're saying that because you're actually telling people this is why they haven't done anything to you, because if they did it to you, it'd be too obvious now, yeah?
That was what I thought at first, but I found out within the last year that they don't want to kill me. Well, first they wanted me to play fake Jesus for them, right?
Yeah.
And I could never do something like that, deceive the world, play with people's religion and things. Like, I don't tell people I'm Jesus or anything. Like, I think that's kind of silly. But then they're talking to me about things and prophecies. They said that the Nostradamus picture book has a picture of me in it, and it says that the next Messiah's initials will be DM, and it's a reference in it to King Dawn in the Nostradamus prophecy. So they're all like, there's a bunch of super religious zealots there that say, oh wow, we thought we were going to use him to be fake Jesus, but it turns out he's real Jesus, and if we kill him, it says in the prophecies that God will destroy the earth and this and that. And so they're using that as an excuse to keep me alive, because they want it exposed so that the populace will force them to shut it down.
Sure.
Because there's some countries don't want to shut it down. They want to keep it going, but a lot of countries don't want to participate anymore.
Okay, okay. So just so people are clear here, you're saying that at these so-called cloning centres, many of the leaders, if not all, of the G20 countries are actually going to these cloning centres, and we're talking a lot of people here, and leaders from also other countries. They go into what are called these clone gatherings and parties at these cloning centres, and we're talking about people like Queen Elizabeth, we're talking about Vladimir Putin. You're also saying that Gaddafi is not dead, and the one that we saw was killed was actually a clone. Do you want to just talk a bit on that for us, if you could?
Yep. They, well, I've helped them make movies and a lot of songs and stuff, so, and successfully too. So, they wanted me to help them set up the whole thing. How would it look believable? I even told them, because I walked them through a few things before, like I had to, when I was memory impressed and stuff, and to keep from getting stabbed and stuff, because it messes up your heart in real life. Like if they sporadically torture you, constant will kill you with aneurysm. But anyway, yeah, all the people around Gaddafi there were in on it. Even the phone shaking around.
Okay.
Like, the cell phone camera shaking around, that was all that hustle and bustle, that was all manufactured. They all think they're great actors and stuff. Gaddafi wanted to go down. He didn't want to look like Saddam Hussein. He said, in getting his mouth opened up and walking around in his underwear and stuff, he said he wanted to go out, like, cool looking. So the blood on the face and everything was a little cut at his hairline. And they put it all over his face, on the side there, like, it was all set up. It was all a big stage play, and you never find his body now. It's supposedly buried secretly. That's because if you dig up his body, take a test on it, and you'll be able to tell it's a clone. Like, they're easy to tell the difference between the cells are different somehow. There's a bunch of different kinds of clones too, like I don't know a lot about the higher up clones, because I'm usually just the Mark II kind.
Sure.
But yeah.
Okay. So again, what you're saying here, again, what I've listened to in interviews is that basically a lot of celebrities, if not all, I don't know, a lot of celebrities and people in the public eye are actually all involved in this. They're all going to these cloning centres. A lot of them sell their so-called clones for the sake of fame and fortune. And these clones are then in these cloning centres, and then we get these so-called people in power, as you've described as these fat, sort of ugly people going to these cloning centres that are actually using the clones of these so-called celebrities for sex and whatever else.
Yep.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, and all kinds of weird things.
Okay. And do you want to tell us a bit about Britney Spears, because you said that she's done a video on this?
Oh yeah. Well, I talked to Britney Spears ever since she was starting her career. Actually, she was being brought there when she was in the Mickey Mouse Club, even. And yeah, I helped her make her songs. Oops, Did It Again and everything. And she put she let me put hints in the songs with lines and stuff. There's so many, and now when I put them out there, it's like, it sounds like it could just be a coincidence. A lot of coincidences, but it feels like such a big waste of time, because sometimes putting these hints in the songs, they'd get pretty mad at me, but they'd do it anyway.
Sure.
Just to flaunt their power. But now I'm bringing them all up, and I even got people to say clones and stuff in songs, and Nelly Furtado, I got her to say "Space is cloning" in what song is it that "Say It Right" it's called. That "Say It Right" song by Nelly Furtado, that's all about disclosing Illuminati stuff. They wanted me to talk about them.
Well, we have heard that a lot of the films and the music out there, and even when you hear the 80s stuff now, when you listen to it back, a lot of it sounds like it's all there to give us a message in big time. And you talked about, and I'm going to play this at the start of my show when I do your interview next week, you talked about Heart, a song that Heart did, yeah?
Yep. There's all kinds of them back then. They were all coming at me back then after I'd made the first 20, then they all started coming. There's numerous cloning stations, and certain people go to certain ones in different areas. There's a couple for every state.
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now, it's our turn.
Right, guys, we did actually lose connection at that point with Donald, and I thought that was a natural break anyway, so I'm going to play a quick tune. There's loads more to go in this, and I say it's going to take at least one more show to get all of this out, maybe even two more, if I can spread it that far, if you want to hear it for two more shows. But it's amazing information, I think, that's certainly worthwhile thinking about, if nothing else, and I, for one, can well believe that this could so be true. But anyway, more from Donald coming up right after this. I just wanted to say, you've obviously mentioned, we're in the UK here, this station is broadcasting from the UK, and you've mentioned Queen Elizabeth a lot. I just wondered if you could actually just tell us about the involvement of Queen Elizabeth in all of this, as far as you're concerned.
Yep. Well, as I said, just before we got cut off there,
sure,
she used me for a soapbox there. See, without me there, she has really no reason to speak. She's what, 87 years old now. She's in a sex slavery place. Nobody wants to see her in her bloomers. You know what I mean? It's like hang the teddy up. It's time to go. But she sits up there and she's like, yes, and now we're going to bring out Dawn, and we're going to do this and that and the other thing. And but if I'm not there, all that she has is she can stand up and do her silly little wave where she turns her hand sideways there. That's all she has. Other than that, she has no reason to talk there. Nobody wants to hear her. She's disgusting. She's one of the worst people there. She's one of the prime evils. Charles is terrible. Camilla's terrible. William, there's something wrong with William. And Harry is scared. Weird.
So when you're saying they're there, Donald, where's there? Are you saying that they're coming to these particular cloning stations, each of them, all of them? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Elizabeth stays medicated to try to stay asleep a lot.
Okay.
Because she likes being cloned better than being real. Oh my God, she's so disgusting. I don't know if they still do, but you might have heard about these gold-foiled babies that people are talking about, that they found. Some British intelligence agent found them, or they found some on a British intelligence agent. It's a Luciferian thing. They roast babies with spices and all kinds of stuff, and they wrap it in the gold foil because they got this thing about gold. I'll get into that another time, but they literally eat the things. They don't they're not gutted or anything, so the guts are still inside, the brain's still in the head. Elizabeth said herself, when she thought that nothing was ever going to be found out, she said, you have to eat them shallow, because inside, they're rotten. Inside the head and inside the chest cavity and stuff is rotten. So they have to just, like, eat the surface skin and muscles and stuff. It's like a religious thing for them. It's not like, she's not like half lizard, or she's not a shape-shifting lizard. There's no shape-shifting like that.
Okay.
They laugh at that stuff. They actually, they promote that because it throws people off the real deal.
You did actually make some reference, I think. I'm just trying to find it in my notes, but I can't, but I was going to reference it. You did make some reference about this blue blood and what it actually really does mean. I don't know if you can just talk a bit about that for us.
Well, these bloodlines and stuff, everybody thinks that they're back from the beginning, they're pure bloodline and stuff. They're all just inbred people, hardcore inbred people. And they're all people that helped lizards in the past.
Right.
These lizards called Vril. They helped them in the past to find victims, food, whatever. And in exchange, lizards from underground would bring them jewels and gold and everything, because they have no use for it down there.
Okay, so on that note then, if we can just go to the lizard thing, because that is obviously something that we need to explain here. What you're talking about, there's a lizard aspect to all of this, and you're saying that we have lizards and what I'll call lizard parasite hosts. And you're saying that lizards have been around for a long time, and we're talking about long before even ancient Egypt, and even about how things like the Eye of Horus is all about lizards. And you're talking about 3 different types of lizards, and they're all coming from these deep underground in the earth, and they actually breathe a different type of oxygen to us, which is like a methane-based oxygen. Do you want to just tell us a little about the lizards and the background on all of that?
Sure. It's quite a large chunk of the story. They said that this could cause the end of the world, exposing these things, because they're all over the place. You have seen one before in your life. They walk around in the public. It's why that Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian guy, was saying that if people knew how many aliens were among them, the world would panic, and and they probably would, because it's pretty sick. I met these stupid things when I was a kid there. They hang out in the bases there. They just hang out there. It's another reason why people don't talk about the place, because you don't want to get bit by one of these things, because they got this toxic spit, and one of the most painful things in the world. There's a lot to it. I'd only met the first type at first. They're smaller ones. They grow up to I thought they only grew up to like 1 foot, 1.5 feet, but when they get older, they get up to like 2.5 feet or something. They got red scales all over their body. They got their head looks like a king crab, and the eyes are on stalks and everything. It's disgusting. They got built-in sonar. They're real sensitive to sound and light, because they're basically subterranean troglodytes, like trolls. Basically, they are trolls. It's a highly evolved lizard. They were around back in the days of the dinosaurs, but they didn't get smoked by the comet that blasted the Earth, or whatever it was that killed the dinosaurs, because they were so deep in the Earth. They were unaffected. And they just stayed down there. They cannibalize on each other when they run low on food down there. There's other things down there too, things that aren't like intelligent at all, like prehistoric ground sloths. They eat those things way deep in the earth, and there's a couple of weird things down there. But
are you saying that they can't actually survive on the top of the earth because they do need a different atmosphere to us? Yeah.
Well, the sun would blind them, and they're really sensitive to sound, and they're really paranoid. They're parasitic creatures. Now, parasitic psychology is really cowardly. They slink around in the dark, having humans help them. Like the Danish kings, the wealth of the Danish kings and everything, that was because they were trading with real lizards from underground, bringing them up amethysts and diamonds and everything. That's where they got all the money. That's where a whole bunch of these kings got their money from. Nobody knows where they got all this gold, all this money. They must have found El Dorado. No, they were trading children to lizards. Man, it's been going on for hundreds of years.
So basically the governments and the Illuminati, basically what you're saying is they've been complicit and working with these so-called lizards, yeah?
Yep, and there's another thing to it. They have a unique biological property of their body. Now, it's, I know you've heard about it before from the interview with Vinny Eastwood there, but they got a thing on the top of their head. It's called, they call it the quill. It's proboscis. It wiggles out the top of their head once in their life. It is their brain and spinal column, and it goes around your eye, does a spiral around your optic nerve all the way to a certain part of the brain. Now, once it does this, if it fails, it's going to die. No, there's no going back into the lizard's body. The lizard's old body is dead. This is the shapeshift right here. This is what everybody talks about, this morph into a human. The thing spirals around the optic nerve, goes to this place. It then does something called sweating the quill. It does a certain kind of feeling, and the spinal juice in the spinal column like foams out the top of the little brain part, and they're all parasitic cells, and this goes all through the brain, totally extinguishes the consciousness of the previous human, and the lizard becomes that person. They used to be called mimics and doppelgangers in the past, in different places in the world. It takes about a month's recovery time. Sometimes they say people are in a coma or something, where they just have to wake up, eat, go back to sleep, or they've had a stroke or something. All kinds of excuses. But yeah, the things they call them drones, but I've taken to calling them hosts because people always say, drones, you mean the unmanned planes? And I'm like, no, they drone you, they then call you a drone, or a lizard drone. And too many people said the thing about the planes, so I just call them all hosts now. That's what they are anyway, parasitic hosts.
You've actually said, I think, Donald, that a lot of depictions of these so-called lizards have actually been destroyed from ancient artifacts because obviously these drones don't want to be found out.
Definitely. There's even another factor to it. Well, they're the three different kinds. Now, the second type, I haven't seen them for a long time. They went down underground. They were all asking me, what are we going to do, Darnie? We don't want to kill you. The things can talk. It's disturbing to look at them talking to you. Like, the way that they don't have a tongue, they have a blood spike that they push on the top of their head. Like, they compress their neck down pretty much.
Right.
And the vertebrae in the back of the throat has a spike on the front of it. So when they push down on their head, that vertebrae pops totally right out frontwards, right? It doesn't detach or anything. It pops out frontwards and it spikes whatever he's going to try to kill or eat.
So basically the governments and the Illuminati, basically what you're saying is they've been complicit and working with these so-called lizards, yeah?
Yep, and there's another thing to it. They have a unique biological property of their body. Now, it's I know you've heard about it before from the interview with Vinny Eastwood there, but they got a thing on the top of their head. It's called, they call it the quill. It's proboscis. It wiggles out the top of their head once in their life. It is their brain and spinal column, and it goes around your eye, does a spiral around your optic nerve all the way to a certain part of the brain. Now, once it does this, if it fails, it's going to die. No, there's no going back into the lizard's body. The lizard's old body is dead. This is the shapeshift right here. This is what everybody talks about, this morph into a human. The thing spirals around the optic nerve, goes to this place. It then does something called sweating the quill. It does a certain kind of feeling, and the spinal juice in the spinal column like foams out the top of the little brain part, and they're all parasitic cells, and this goes all through the brain, totally extinguishes the consciousness of the previous human, and the lizard becomes that person. They used to be called mimics and doppelgangers in the past, in different places in the world. It takes about a month's recovery time. Sometimes they say people are in a coma or something, where they just have to wake up, eat, go back to sleep, or they've had a stroke or something. All kinds of excuses. But yeah, the things they call them drones, but I've taken to calling them hosts because people always say, drones, you mean the unmanned planes? And I'm like, no, they drone you, they then call you a drone, you're a lizard drone. And too many people said the thing about the planes, so I just call them all hosts now. That's what they are anyway, parasitic hosts.
You've actually said, I think, Donald, that a lot of depictions of these so-called lizards have actually been destroyed from ancient artifacts because obviously these drones don't want to be found out.
Definitely. There's even another factor to it. Well, they're the three different kinds. Now, the second type, I haven't seen them for a long time. They went down underground. They were all asking me, what are we going to do, Darnie? We don't want to kill you. The things can talk. It's disturbing to look at them talking to you. Like, the way that they don't have a tongue, they have a blood spike that they push on the top of their head. Like, they compress their neck down pretty much.
Right.
And the vertebrae in the back of the throat has a spike on the front of it. So when they push down on their head, that vertebrae pops totally right out frontwards, right? Doesn't detach or anything. It pops out frontwards and it spikes whatever he's going to try to kill or eat. Then what they do, their lips, they got really good suckers. Well, they were called the chupacabra in the past. They got really good suckers. They sucker on, and then they do like a swishing motion, swishing spit in and out of the wound. And this totally debilitates whatever they're going after. It drops them, and then they just can drain the thing. Type 1's favorite food is goat blood and human blood, preferably child blood, and solids are pancreas and brains for humans. But yeah, and I know a lot about them. I pretended to like them when I was a kid, because man, I couldn't believe it was stuck on me. They're like, meet the vril. I'm like, that's not real, that's a puppet. And I'm like, it's no puppet. That's a something you guys made, because they make spliced things. They made all kinds of spliced animals, like beaver moles and all kinds of stuff. Disgusting. And I thought it was just another one of those things. But no, they're natural things, creatures. Some people have them in religion. They call them fallen angels and demons and stuff, and they're supposed to be protected. And some people say that they're different things. The army of Set, the Egyptians said, army of Set. Yeah, it's pretty bad. They're all over the place. Elizabeth helps them find bodies for people to drone. She gets real people brought to the cloning center and eaten by the things. But the thing is, the reason they like eating kids, they said it's like a lobster. Like, I don't like seafood. People tell me that smaller lobsters taste better. Like, old ones are not as good. The same type of thing with kids. Like, also, they can die if they drain the blood out of somebody that has had a certain amount of vaccinations. It becomes like poisonous to them.
I was just going to say that, Donald, actually, because there's something you said about. You said something about some of these people having so-called pet lizards, and they actually feed children to them, and because they have to feed them children because children have less vaccine in them, which says it all really. Because if they take older people, the lizards get sick because there's too much vaccine in the blood. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like a ceremony or something. The lizard will be sitting on the person's lap, right? Yeah. And there'll be a kid out in the middle. And, like, I haven't really gotten into it a lot, the whole thing with that, but what they'll do is they'll make the kid, like, not all the kids there are, like, unwilling. Some of them like playing these grown-up naked games, right? and it's all very disgusting. So they'll get this kid out in the center, 5-year-old or something, and they'll be really, how do you call it, promiscuous. They'll act that way, and then they'll go along with it and everything. But then afterwards, they'll say, "You're like you're a dirty girl" or something like that, and she'll go, "Oh, I thought that's what we do." No, God wouldn't like that. And then it's like they set up a feigned anger against the kid or something because they don't want to feel bad. They want to dehumanize this kid before they see it get killed so that they won't feel bad themselves or something. Anyway, I watched them getting eaten. I tried to help a couple times. No. They press a button and they can paralyze your clone. You just flop. And like you can still see everything. You can't move though. But yeah, they made me watch that. They made me watch all the, well, not all of them, because they missed a couple of them. But the Picton murders, he used to smash them with a hammer in the head. They used to make me watch all of those. Elizabeth really took, like, control in matters pertaining to me there, because she was acting like she was my owner, right? Because I was Mr. Special Song Guy, so she would always sit next to me and stuff. She's a camera hand. And she's literally retarded like 5 times, 5 different ways retarded. From cannibalism, from inbreeding, from traumatization, from watching these lizard things and having all this evil stuff around her whole life.
Sure. Okay, just to pick up on... Sorry, just to pick up on the Picton thing, sorry Donald, again, you've actually said that they use this Picton farm, it's used specifically to actually produce videos, horrific videos, to actually bring back to these cloning centres for a purpose there, yeah?
Yep, well, I'll tell you all about the Picton thing. They had cloned him into the place. I mean, the man is still alive, and he won't be alive very long if he starts saying something about a cloning station. Like, I don't know what's going to happen now, because with them not killing me, everybody else is gaining confidence now, and they're like, well, we want out of here now. All the celebrities and stuff, and they're like, Elizabeth's trying to threaten people into silence still, because she wants to just keep it going, because she knows she's doomed. She's going to be vilified worse than Hitler. You'll see. She says, literally there, she carries a cyanide capsule with her. They all do. All the scumbags do, because they know what's coming. They think a crowd is going to surround them and pull their arms off. Like they said, we fear being lynched in the street when this is disclosed to the public. And I said, hey, you deserve to get lynched, really. Like, you deserve way worse.
So, can I just ask you one question quickly? And don't forget what track you're on, but sorry to interrupt. Just one quick question, which people are bound to ask since we've been talking about the cloning so much. How do we know that these people, so-called royal family, Elizabeth, etc., are not just clones? And if that did ever happen, that they weren't just lynching a clone, how can we be sure of that anyway? You know, I mean, it's just so kind of confusing, isn't it?
It is very confusing, and they're always upping the technology to hide everything, right? So I'm not sure if these walk around all the time clones require a chip implant. I'm pretty sure that they do, though, unless they got past that. Like, they're always upping the technology. They used to have to use a tissue sample agitated, but now they can just use blood, and they own the Red Cross. So, like, don't donate blood. You don't want to. How can you tell if they're a clone? They will go to great lengths to cover it up. You'd have to put their cells under a microscope. Like, unless you're looking at their behavior. It's kind of like
you did say that one of these duplication clones. You did say that if they're not actually allowed, they don't let them out in public, so to speak, without a handler, because the way that they can react, they can actually bite people's faces off, etc., etc., which does remind me of a news story that was very recent here a few months ago about someone attacking somebody and biting their face off.
Yep, they have a really weird psychology. They, people say that clones don't have a soul and stuff. I mean, and they don't have feelings and stuff. Me, I feel more emotional as a clone. Everybody does. It's just like the clone is using your soul, but it's flawed at the time. It's like that. They call it consciousness, not soul. But, yeah, they really fly off the deep end. Like, the REM-driven kind, everybody's pretty loopy when you're an REM-driven clone. Are you still there?
Yeah, still here, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's pretty loopy as an REM-driven clone. It's a side effect that nobody can block, right? but when you're, okay, when they're a reanimated dead person, right,
Yeah.
they're twisted. They come back kind of like the Pet Cemetery movie with Stephen King's movie. Not as bad though, and they don't rot and stuff. But they're angry all the time. They're walking around, they're looking at people, and they're saying, and they have bad side effects. One-track mind. They're not as smart anymore. They're weird now. And they're looking around at everybody having fun, and they're like, all these people don't have these impediments and side effects that I have, and they just hate the living. They're like, want everybody else to be like them, so that they're not inferior to them or something. I don't know. They kind of tap back into caveman instinct.
Sure. Okay.
They can't fix this technology. It's a flawed technology, like with a dead end. There is no fixing it. There's trying to though, but they said that they will never be able to fix it. The cells are grown too quickly or something. It takes like, well, I don't know for Mark IV and stuff, but the Mark II clones, they only take 5 months to grow. And they said it's mostly maintenance. It doesn't even cost that much. It's just they set it to growing, and then they have to have someone maintain the tank as it's growing, and change it to different size tanks as it grows. Like Britney Spears put the cloning tanks in her video, the Break the Ice video. I made that song for her called Break the Ice, and then she was happy to put the cloning tubes in the video because she wants out of their bed. Like, she was all for it when she didn't have any money, but once she gets famous and rich and stuff, oh, I don't want to go to the cloning center anymore. And then they're like, oh, well, too bad, we own you. And she's like, well, I don't want to go on TV or anything anymore. And then they're threatening to kill her. They killed Whitney Houston for that.
I was just going to say that. That was my next question. You said that they actually killed Whitney Houston, yeah?
Yeah, and Bobby Brown knows about it. He was sitting there in the crowd crying, watching.
And what about Bernie Mac? You said something about Bernie Mac?
Yeah, he was awesome. He tried to basically save me. Spoke up for me there. He said, we can't be doing this to a human being. I've seen enough of this. This is foolishness, right? And everybody's like, well, other people started to join in with them. So Elizabeth put a stop to that real quick. They cut him up for hours. Cut him up for hours. Like, the constant pain on a clone, it's only really efficient if you use electricity, but they could just chop you and chop you and chop you for hours, clone by clone by clone, and they made everybody sit there and watch him getting chopped all up, as an example, right? And towards the end, he was cursing me out pretty bad. He did, you know, he knew he was going to die because he's seen this happen to other people before, but and they don't usually do the chop up thing over and over and over to do this to people. They usually do the electricity. Just put a constant electrical charge on the clone and they'll die. That's what they did to Tila Tequila to give her aneurysm, but they stopped. They could have killed her easy, just kept the electricity on, but they stopped. Like, she was looking for more money.
Okay, just to stop you there, Donald, sorry, I'm going to bring David in a minute, but just before I do, can you just tell us, for people that don't know who Tila Tequila actually is, and the story there, if you wouldn't mind?
Who is she? Let's see, washed up porn star, her drug addict, half-rate celebrity that did like a bachelorette show of some kind, and then, you know, didn't do anything else.
So what was her story with regards to this then? Was she trying to expose it at one point then? Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah.
Well, the thing was, she was there for a long time, being used as a sex slave. Members of her family there, some woman named Bouchy, her cousin or something. And then, for being a good sex slave, they offered her the Shot at Love show. So she did that, did the Shot at Love show, and then she's like, okay, well, I don't want to come here anymore. And they're like, we'll give you another show. And, okay, I'll stay then. She does another Shot at Love. So then after that, she's like, yeah, well, I'm not getting any more shows. I don't want to come here anymore. And she was really outspoken. Like, she really liked to push the envelope and dare them to try to kill her, right? because I guess she had some kind of a dead man disclosure, whatever they call it. If you die, someone picked up something. So they didn't want to kill her, but they wanted to shut her up, so gave her an aneurysm. Well, she went on a video blog or something. It's gone now, but she went on a video blog and said, "Can someone please help me?" Everybody thought that she was being like a big drug addict. She goes, "Can someone please help me? The Illuminati are blasting me into another dimension somehow. Queen Elizabeth is there, and she eats people, and there's demons there, and they follow her command, right?"
Yeah.
And that night she had an aneurysm, or was it the next night? I think it was that same night. And after that, she never said anything else.
Right. And this is brought on by the so-called electrical charges to the clone, basically, which can do that, yeah?
Yep. They just lay the clown down, attach a wire, constant electrical current, and if you're young, it takes a while. If you're old, it doesn't take that long. And they blast your brain.
Sure.
And so anyway, she came, I'd contacted her because I'd met her there. We'd talked about disclosing together, and they were, all the other ones there were like looking at us like, I thought they were actually just going to kill us. They were just using us for a joke. But so she comes onto my my wall there, and she's talking to me and everything, and I'm like, you gotta tell, and she's like, yeah, well, she's hinting and beating around the bush and everything. So then one night she went on her radio blog there. This is why she stopped talking to me and stopped talking about cloning altogether. She went on her radio blog, and it was supposed to be a pre-recorded broadcast, and it was all very controlled because they're in her face there. Don't you dare, don't you dare. Every time she falls asleep, don't you dare. So she goes on video blog, and surprise goes live and says, hey, I got to tell you guys all about these things called the cloning centers and what they do to children there. Now, they do this and that and the other thing, and she said, she called it going on blast. That night when she went to sleep, she got a bunch of real lizards up in her face and said, you are going to get us eradicated. Anyway, she was pretty scared. She says she's fearless, and no, everybody's scared of these things. Instinctual fear. After that, she unfriended me on Facebook. It was right after her cloning radio show. Like, I have it on my Facebook wall. She tells all about it. It was the first time any celebrity did. It was like unprecedented. So then she got threatened bad that night, and they said that they would bite her to death and then reanimate her after death and bite her and bite her and bite her. So she's like, you're on your own, Donnie. And I was like, come on. I've been bitten by the things before. Take a couple bites, save the world. And she's like, no, I can't be doing that, no. And she went back and sat down in the stands. But, and, yeah, totally blocked me. Doesn't want nothing to do with me now. Doesn't talk to me. Won't answer messages, nothing.
Sure,
Everybody thought that I was like, everybody was thinking I was attracted to her or something. I'm not. She stabbed me at that place. I really don't like her that much.
Well, you wouldn't if she done that, I don't think.
She doesn't have anything there to talk about or show off about. Like, she can stand up, look at everybody else, and say, hi, I'm Taylor Tequila, and you go, yeah, who the hell are you? And but then she was playing my love interest for a short time at the cloning center, right? And she doesn't even like me. Like, she doesn't like anybody. She likes herself. But she was playing along so that she'd have some reason to speak and feel like a celebrity there. So she was bothering me for a while. But and then we kind of talked behind the scenes. I was like, look, if you help me, I won't like sue you terrible, because I plan to sue so many people it's going to be disgusting. And it even says in this Nostradamus prophecy that they follow that the savior of the world comes back and saves the world with truth and sues all of the corrupt lords and performers for legal recompense more than anyone else has in the history of the world. And
right.
they're all
you're
going...
saying that's something they follow, which is rather ironic in a way.
They follow it major, only because other things from it have happened, right?
Right, okay.
So, like, they follow it big time. Like, they have a mixed-matched religion, Luciferianism, Hopi Indian prophecy, Nostradamus prophecy, Revelations, and something else.
Okay, just getting back to the Luciferian beliefs, because I did want to pick on that quickly, and something you said regarding what these people do believe is that these bloodlines actually, obviously they think they're super inbreds with these beliefs, and they think this inbreeding makes them strong, and they think that paedophilia keeps them young, and they think that helping these so-called lizards brings them luck, yeah?
Yeah, some of them, Luciferian thing, if you kill your firstborn son,
yeah,
you'll get fortune from the Dark Lord, right?
Okay.
Some of them used to, well, I'm not sure if they do anymore, but they used to drone one of their kids that are in their family to prove their loyalty, right? And I don't know, they're going to have to all be wiped though. Like,
Sure.
it's gonna be really sick looking. It's gonna look like, okay, first of all, a parasite-hosted human of a lizard is not a human anymore. That thing does not have rights. It is lower than a dog. It begins its life as human as a murderer. It murdered the previous human. It doesn't think like a human. It has a different train of thought. They're malevolent things. They're gonna have to get wiped, and they're gonna cry. They're gonna, no, please don't kill me. I didn't want to drone this human. It's gonna look like a Nazi death camp or something. But you gotta kill these things because it's bad. Like, every human on Earth knows what a parasited host is. It's pretty much just like the Stargate show, the Stargate movie and series. It's kind of like that, but not so much outer space stuff and wormholes and stuff. Just lizards, parasitic lizards that drone your brain. It's disgusting.
Sure. Okay, sure. Right, I'm going to just go now to Dave. Dave, do you want to come in now and ask any questions?
No, what I want to ask you, Donald, when was the last time you actually went back to the cloner station? Have you been told to come back? Or?
Not last night, but the night before. And I was there for about a half an hour. They were just basically telling me, take some stuff back, don't tell everything, don't tell about people's individual actions there, disclose it in the right way so you don't cause a panic.
So what you're saying, Donald, is that the Illuminati, or the elite as we know it, are scared stiff of the reptilians. They're trying to get the word out through you. That be the way you're trying to put it?
That is basically it, but there's also another factor to the equation. There's the dead reanimated clone people. Now, dead reanimated clone people, you don't even have to kill them. You press a button and they get shut down. Like, they supposedly have a chip in their head with their consciousness on it. You press a button and they shut off like a light switch. There's no pain, there's no nothing. They just don't want to cease to be existing, right? The thing with real lizard hosts, you actually got to chop that thing's head off to kill it. Shoot it or whatever. They die normal just like everybody else. They don't have superpowers. And they're actually deficient. They're dumber than the original person. They don't have any superpowers. They don't sprout scales. Like, people that tell me that, I'm like, okay, sprouting scales, that would hurt some bad, wouldn't it? And then reverting back to human again, wouldn't those sharp scales leave like a scar somewhere, one scar or anything, right? What do the scales do? Do they retract into the skin? You know, this whole shape-shifting thing was promoted by the lizards and the hosts to throw people off, because the whole shape-shift is the parasitical transfer into the head.
So the only way that they can come up to the surface is by droning somebody, putting the parasite inside the host, and then they're working for them. Then.
Yep, basically. Well, they could walk up to the surface, but if they're seen, they're discovered and it's ruined. Like, their secrecy is part of a lizard's religion, right? Like parasite psychology, hide in the shadows and stuff. Mm-hmm. They come up underneath the underground bases. The underground bases have connecting tunnels underneath of them, and they go way down deeper. And they come up, they have little stairs made for the stupid things and everything. They walk right up and they sit around in the stands with them and everything. It's sick. And they're all over the world. They come up in underneath different parts of the world. Like the Tibetan monks have been hiding those things to keep them safe, because they say that they're a living, sentient creature, and they deserve to live, and that God put them here for a reason. What do? Oh, they parasite people's heads. Well, they must be doing that for a reason, so it's nature, and they should be allowed. Tibetan monks are disgusting. The Dalai Lama knows all about this. The Dalai Lama told him to kill me. Said he didn't want to be known as a person that went to the cloning center. Said he didn't want to be known as a person that was involved with real lizards. Tibetan monks are going to have a real bad day at the end of this.
So do these reptilian lizard things, have they got some real high technology then?
Well, the thing is, they're real stupid. They can't invent nothing. Real type 1s are real dumb. Real type 2 are a little smarter, and real type 3 are the big things that run the previous two kinds like pets, pretty much. I thought that the first two kinds were the main ones, but the third one is the main one. I thought that the third one was a splice thing when I was a kid, so I didn't even think it was a real thing, but I thought it was just the type 1s. But, yeah, oh, man. See, I hate talking about these things. It makes me all edgy, because then I picture what they look like, and I get, oh, man, it's pretty sick.
I mean, how tall are they?
The type 3s, I've seen them, well, let's see, they're taller when they're younger, actually, because they got a real long neck, like a long neck gray looking alien. I've seen them, big ones are like 8 feet, but it's a lot of neck. As they age, the neck reduces, like it shortens, and they got like a normal sized neck towards the end. I don't know where all the vertebrae are going, but they get shorter.
Any particular colour, Donald?
Any particular what?
Coloured skin.
Oh, like shark color, like grayish bluish. Some of them even have like a slight tiger striping on their skin, on their back and stuff. The type 3s. The type 1s are covered in scales, red scales, like diamond-shaped scales.
Did any of these lizards have wings?
They've tried to say that they've had wings, but that was they put wings on one. They were telling me all kinds of different things. They were showing me different ones with 2 toes, ones with 3 toes, and then they're trying to throw me off by telling me that this spliced other thing is also a creature from down there, and it's a big hierarchy down there. They just tell me a lot of BS, right?
I wonder, Donald, if you've seen any other aliens, any greys or any other type of alien.
Well,
see, what you're talking about now, it doesn't seem to be part of the military-industrial complex. I mean, there's underground bases where there's supposed to be super soldiers, genetically modified people. And,
yeah, well, they're different floors.
Yeah.
Like, say, in Dulce Base, you have an entire floor devoted to cloning. You have an entire floor devoted to mind stuff, mind tech, and an entire floor devoted to gene splicing, right?
Yeah.
But the cloning floor is the one that has, like, the big auditorium and the seating and the arena and stuff for, like, the death sports and stuff. They used to make me sword fight a lot out there, did a couple spear fights and stuff. Just a lot of fighting, like death sports stuff, and they all just sit around and watch. They told me to watch The Hunger Games. They said it's kind of like it. I didn't watch it. They make all the movies. They own all the movie stations, right, or all the movie companies. Elizabeth herself secretly owns, like, movie companies and music companies.
So do you think that the actual the people who are fighting and the clones and everything that they're actually getting some sort of a buzz out of raising the fear levels within the people in the auditorium?
Sometimes
the
they do
reptilians.
They've done it so much that they discover through trial and error how to psychologically make the desired effect happen, like in record time. Like Stockholm Syndrome on a kid, they can put that on a kid like in record time. They know exactly what to do and say. Yeah. They got the brain down, totally, mapped out totally. They say it's so big they can't see it all, they don't discover. They know everything about it now. What they're trying to do now is add stuff to the brain, technology to the brain to augment intelligence, like They have the brain inside and out now.
Like an interface, something that'll interface with the brain, like
Yeah.
some sort of consciousness chip. But the thing is, I mean, what excites these reptilians? What's it all about for them?
Okay,
There must be a payoff for them somehow.
well,
Besides
the
just
thing,
food.
I can tell you about the whole lizard Atlantean thing. Lizards did something to Atlantis. Like Atlantis used to be called Thule, Thule, and they had some pretty good technology. They had saucers and everything. And I don't know a lot about it, but they had a base in Antarctica.
Yeah. I know about this.
They abandoned it, right?
Yeah.
Hitler had heard that there was some kind of magic power in Tibet. He went to Tibet, met the Tibetan monks, the main ones, and they introduced him to the lizards. The lizards can talk, basic speech, and they sound like they swallow helium, the small ones, the first type ones. So they told him there's some kind of base down on the South Pole there. They showed him on a map, and that it's there. There's something underground there that the ancients had, and magic and this and that. And Hitler went there, found it, took it all back. He was down with this society called the Vril Society too.
That's right.
They droned people in the past. Now, he was so appreciative of the Vril Society's help, because they were basically sneaking around droning people. He was so appreciative of the Vril Society's help and the Vril Lizards' help in helping him find all this technology, this abandoned technology, that he started calling the saucers the Vril Type 1 or the Vrilheimer or whatever,
right.
after them. And this super power, these super people that are supposed to be underground, highly evolved and everything, it's just the stupid lizards. They were just talking up the stupid lizards to make them feel good.
Oh, you mean Algarve and the sense of the earth? It's the hollow earth theory and that, yeah.
It's lizards. Like, lizards didn't even know how to turn the technology on. They don't know how to make nothing. They got claws, right? They couldn't use instruments and stuff. They're really dumb and they're really sad about it, and they get really emotional about it.
Just getting back to the Pope scenario, then there's a lot of theories around this Pope resignation thing, going back to black popes. This has all been designed. This has all been orchestrated. It's all meant to happen. The fact that the Pope is now resigning has all been there, planned from the beginning. The fact that he's had these Nazi ties has all been in there so that we could get rid of him for a certain reason. Just your views on that, really.
Yep. Well, it's all set up. He was supposed to step down in this prophecy or something, and the new Pope's name somehow translates out to this Petrus Romanus guy. And see, some of the Illuminati people, the heads of certain religions, like, and different ones too, that aren't even supposed to like each other, they're kind of united in this thing, and they call themselves the Pharisees, right?
Right.
And I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was like something to do with pharaohs or something. But they're like, nope, we kind of ensure that religion stays viable by making stuff in the prophecies come true, right? Like flooding of New York with the HARP technology and the storm. That was all intentional.
And we've got this so-called Nostradamus thing where apparently in the Nostradamus series it showed you these kind of two towers, and then we get the 9/11 type thing scenario, yeah?
Yeah.
So they're actually trying to make things fit into these Nostradamus foresees.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they want revelations and stuff to come true. I wasn't sure if they wanted the bad ending or the good ending.
Well, that's where Project Bluebeam comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, they can put illusions in the sky and stuff, but they were that Bluebeam thing where they were going to put images of different deities in the sky and stuff. That was a host's idea. See, no one would go for that. Like, everybody would know it was some kind of a manipulation, and so they scrapped that plan. They're not going to put pictures of God in the sky.
Go for alien flying saucers, probably, won't they?
Donald,
the thing is,
Donald, can I ask your view? I'm sorry, I do apologise for interrupting. It just struck me today because it did affect me today, and I did think about it again. And we're campaigning against it strongly in the UK. Some of us. Chemtrails. Why are they doing chemtrails?
Well, they told me before that it contained an antidote to the zombie virus. They have a zombie virus. They have another virus called what do they call it? I forget. It's just like the suicide virus. They put it into movies. The Happening.
Yeah.
The movie The Happening.
Yeah.
That's the suicide virus that they have. They have all kinds of biological viruses, all kinds. And then they have like counteracting viruses that hold people back. Like some viruses only affect certain races, and then those races make viruses that will only affect the races that would throw those.
Yeah.
Okay, but to a lot of us, the geoengineering and the chemtrails that are taking place at the moment, I mean, to me, for example, today in the UK, we had a fantastically glorious sunny day with a fantastic blue sky. The next minute, there's all these planes flying by with spraying all this stuff. The whole sky is filled with a mist that blocks out the sun.
Well, there's a few different things that they've said. They said it contains nanobots, nanoprobes or something. Some of them, they're not little boxes with feet walking around. They're just a wire, one tiny little wire that they can activate and have manipulate and running through. They said they're through everybody now. They've got nanites and everybody. It's like that intelligent dust or the smart dust they put out. It's just like that. It's everywhere. Also, it's for the depopulation, but everybody thinks that depopulation, they're going to run around killing a bunch of people all at once. They don't want old people. They don't want old people living to be 110 anymore, because they're going to. It's a major problem. They're going to retirement homes at 55.
Yeah.
They're not dying at like 70 anymore. They're dying at 110. So, it's costing them a lot of money. Like even these people's families grow old.
Cost them a lot of our money, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to make people die sooner than 100.
So are they actually trying to screen the sun from us though? Is that part of it?
That is kind of part of it. They said that the nanite things can connect together in midair and make the images, but for whatever they want. And then they also said they wanted to block out the sun a little bit because real lizards are very sensitive to the sun. They said they wanted to block it out actually and have them come up and walk around. They want to live peacefully, coexist with humans.
That's the other thing. Chemtrails is a perfect delivery system to, as you said, you can get them where they can pick out different subcultures who they didn't want and get rid of them if they sprayed the right sort of stuff. So it's a perfect delivery system because everybody doesn't even look up anymore. A lot of people do. We're trying to get it stopped in this country because it's changing the acidity of the water and everything's getting in the water and the food supply. People are getting sick. Trees are dying. Bees are dying. Monsanto have got a lot to do with the GMOs as well, Yeah, we're trying to do that side of it. Do you know anything about any entities off-world?
Only.
I mean, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about you've been to the underground bases and that. Have you seen any military personnel?
Oh yeah.
Army, Navy.
Military bases. They got guards there, but not on the cloning floor. On the cloning floor, it's kind of.
So they wouldn't know what was going on there.
Well, different floors don't even know what's going on the other floors.
Well,
they don't have.
Everything's
They don't have security clearance. They don't have security clearance to go to those other floors, and they never.
Do you have a swipe card or some sort of ID to get?
No, I just open up my eyes and I'm there, right?
Like you have to do with retina thing. Is that a retina sort of thing?
No, it's rapid eye movement stage of sleep.
Okay.
Of course, you're not there. You're in bed.
Sorry, okay.
But but your consciousness is in the clone.
Yep, that's how it works. Everyone else in the world that's sleeping at the time has the option of having people activate them while they're there. It's kind of confusing and hard to explain, but you know.
Oh, I've got it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can only be activated if you've got a clone, though, Donald. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They have to have one of you to zap you into, I guess. Like, I wish I knew more about it, but they wouldn't tell me a lot about it because there must be some way to block the signal, and they didn't want me to know how. I tried different things. Hell, I even tried a tinfoil hat. As stupid as that sounded to me.
I believe I was listening to a video on YouTube of this woman, Blue Raven. She did an Mash Talk with Miles Johnson, and she said that they've got space-based weapons now that can individually target people and put a signal on them, and then they can be tracked anywhere in the world.
Yeah, on satellite. They got all kinds of stuff on satellite. They said they got something called a death beam. They said they got like a beam from a satellite they can give people cancer. Different things. They got nukes on satellites. They weaponized space a while ago. Everybody's like, oh my god, is Kim going to throw the missile? Is he going to throw the missile? He could blast anywhere in the U.S. right now. He's got a satellite up there. It was supposed to be a TV satellite. No, it's got nuke pods on it. It can just drop them. Like, nobody is even... Well, you got to ask yourself, there's a bunch of people on my friends list, right, that have taken all of my information and they send it to the government and they say, look what this guy's saying about you guys. Go get him, right? Government does not respond. Then, well, Justin Bieber, little scumbag, he says, somebody out there is saying, I got them pregnant. I'm going to quash this right now. He did it in one day. Snap the whip on it, right?
Yeah.
But I told everything about what Justin Bieber is doing out there as clones and stuff, and Motley Crue and all these other people, right? I write it out, and all these people on my wall some of them are fans of these bands. So they send it to them, and they say, look what this guy's saying about you. Slandering your name, let's go get him. They get blocked. They block their own fans and ignore it. Oh man, it's so funny. So then people come back and they come back and like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you, man. I'm like, yeah, I know, I wouldn't believe me either. This stuff.
Okay,
But,
Donald, for everything that you're aware of, that you say that you're aware of, is there anything out there that is actually helping us? Is there any entities or anything out there that is actually trying to help the human race as a species to actually get over all of this, as far as you're aware?
Nope. There is none. Pleiadian, the Pleiadian helpers that are going to help us, they're Vril Type 3. They're Vril Type 3.
Okay.
The saucers they were going to land in are old Atlantean tech that's been back engineered by America and Russia, and they were going to drop in and say, hello, we want to be friends, to share the light and love. They're carnivorous. They're parasitic things.
I've heard this as well before. Yeah. Okay. So what is there any hope? What is the hope? Is the hope us? What is the hope, Donald, as far as you're concerned?
Well, the main thing, the populace has to shut them down. Multiple governments want to be shut down, but they're afraid of what's going to happen to them after they divulge information. So they're using me. They're using me for a scapegoat and saying, well, you can't kill him, he might be prophecy guy, right? So we'll just let it go. If it happens, it happens, and it's the prophecy, right? So they're just letting it go. But they're saying that people are going to freak out, start rioting, looting. It's going to be like LA riots worldwide, right? So we just got to keep that from happening, because that's what the lizards have.
So, how many lizards is the hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of thousands? How many could you put a figure on, do you reckon?
Underground, I'm not sure how many there are. They got colonies down there.
Is there a king or queen of these reptilians?
Oh yeah, they have different hierarchies in different regions. Like the ones that live underneath, like Iran, are totally. Well, sometimes they'll have a different kind of a variant language. Sometimes they look a little bit different when they evolved in different areas underground. Yeah, they got different leaders and stuff. there's more Vril Type 1s than anything else. And Vril Type 3s run them, and they're smarter than the Vril Type 1s. And they pretty much tried to lord over Vril Type 1s like gods, but there's a lot of Vril Type 1s. I don't know hundreds of thousands or millions, but there's a lot of them. And, well, there's so much of them, they eat everything that's down there so bad that they start to cannibalize on each other. And they don't even care. They're not even race or species loyal. They'll just cannibalize. They don't care. They're primitive things.
Okay, so Donald, what is your feeling on all of this then, as an individual, as yourself, who is someone that's speaking, that's being so aware of all of this and being so in the middle of all of this? Do you have any hope yourself personally? What is your feeling on this all? And what is that hope?
It's all set up. They're going to, they're either going to go to World War III to distract the world from talking about it.
Yeah.
And keep everything going status quo, or they're going to allow it to be shut down. They don't want to go there anymore. It's
they being who? They being who?
Like different world leaders. Like you might have heard, like this Icelandic uprising.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're there too. Just they threw out the Illuminati guys and voted in their own guy, but then they just cloned that guy and said, "Hey, guess what? You're here now. You are with us. You're going to do what we tell you to do, or we're going to get you bitten, and you're going to get killed, and you're going to get razzed by clone until you die, and then reanimated after death and razzed again, like for forever if you want." So he's like, "Yeah, okay." So he sits there too, some guy. And
so what you're basically saying there, sorry Donald, what you're basically saying there is that the guy that is in control in Iceland is part of this now too, because he's a clone. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he's not a clone in real life, but they bring him into the REM cloning center, and they say, "You're going to do what we say, or we're going to razz you to death."
Right.
And it's like, okay, that's how it works. Like, they're not protected by this prophecy rumor, right? So they can be killed, but they're going to let me because of the whole, you know.
So what is humanity's hope as far as you're concerned then?
Well, it's not the entire army that's in this. Like, the average army grunt doesn't know anything about this. They just follow orders, and they think that their leaders are good, and that they're doing things for the better good. They're not. They're either hosts, or they're being coerced by hosts and lizards and other scumbags. Well, the only thing that's going to stop them is worldwide knowledge, because the populace has to rise up and oust the leaders. Do coups, to overthrow their governments, kind of, in some places. Some governments are actually good and will turn, right? But somebody else has to take the first step, because they're not going to put themselves out of the way because they're cowards.
Okay, so what we tend to go along with on this station is, because we're called Critical Mass Radio, is we're going along with the critical mass, and we're thinking that if we can get enough people to follow the same thinking as us, and be with us and stand by us and stand by it in a proper physical way, that we've got a chance here. Would you agree with that then?
I do agree. We outnumber hosts by far. They've told me different percentages, but different countries have different percentages of hosts, of Vrils, and different clone amount of
How do we stand in the UK, just for interest, do you know?
In the UK, I'm not sure. Like, there's no way for me to be certain, but with Elizabeth and Charles running stuff there, it's not good.
Not good.
They're not loyal to the country.
Absolutely.
They're loyal to themselves.
We know that already. Yeah. Some of us. Yeah. Dave, do you want to come in?
Yeah. Where does China come in all this, Donald? Any idea about China?
China is.
That's where all the gold's going, isn't it?
Yes, they have the most gold. They've been down with Vril for thousands of years. They droned more people than all the other nations combined. China really doesn't want this known, because China thinks they're going to be ostracized from the rest of the world. They think the other countries are going to start expatriating Chinese people, because China has been very, very bad. Not just droning people with the lizards, chipping people's heads, and then putting dead Chinese people's consciousnesses in them, running them. And they don't want to be just anybody. They want to be good-looking white people. And they've done it in America all kinds. They said that that me telling people about this is going to get them nuked. They're going to get nuked, and somebody's going to nuke or something. And I'm like, well, kill the lizards, shut down them dead people, everything will go smooth. And it's pretty heavy, though. China is one of the worst places in the world. It's not the people there. Like, I'm not racist or anything. It's the government there. The government is still kind of being run by this guy named Mao Zedong. Chairman Mao.
Yeah.
He's still living on a flawed recorded consciousness on chip in either a clone or somebody else's head. It's pretty crazy now. When they copied his consciousness onto chip, they only had Mark 1 clones, and it's way more side effects then. So when they recorded his consciousness onto that chip, it was with Mark 1 technology. Now after they made Mark 2s, they can't go back and take that recording and upgrade it to Mark 2, so he's stuck as Mark 1 clone, flawed recorded consciousness, which is even worse than Mark 2. Yeah, and Mark 2 is pretty bad in itself.
Have you heard of David Wilcox and Benjamin Fulford?
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want to say on either of those?
I didn't know about Fulford, okay? But David Wilcox guy?
Yeah.
I contacted him on the internet, and I'm like, dude, I know all this stuff. I hear you talk about it. I don't know anything about it. I'll just tell you what I know, and I'll fill in the blanks for you and help me shut this stuff down. Well, no response. And then a few nights after that, he comes out to talk to me at the cloning center. He's there. He's been there since he was a little kid. He was a molestation. Oh yeah, he was a molestation victim. And then, just as a reward for him being such a good little boy, they let him have his show and talk this stuff. Like, if he was to probably talk the truth about lizards, he'd probably be killed, as an example to the others. But he is there. He told me specifically, don't message me. I'm not going to help you. And I can't wait to meet him in real life, really, because he was like threatening me there and stuff. Fulford is supposed to be down with the Japanese Yakuza side of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was there or not because I hadn't seen him. They brought him out like months ago, and he's like talking to me about this and that, and I'm like, dude, you're a traitor. You're a traitor of the human race. Get out of my face. And he's like, they just want to peacefully coexist. We can fix this all. And I'm like, dude, you better get out of here. I think I know these things better than you do. And I don't know. He's a worm. He's like one of these hinters, like the Jesse Ventura guy. He's there too. It's bad. Jesse Ventura was there when I was there as a little kid in his pink tights.
Do you want to say anything about David Icke?
Yeah, you guys are gonna want to string him up. He knows all about it. I think he knows even more than I do about the stupid things. He may be a host himself. He knows that there's no morphing. He knows there's no other dimension. He's just saying that to mislead people.
Why?
Because he likes the place. He's a friend to Elizabeth. He makes a living. He stays safe.
He's a friend to Elizabeth. Do you know that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've talked there. Yeah, the strange thing was with him, they didn't bring him out to talk to me like they did with Fulford and stuff. They put a picture of his face up on the big screen to talk to me, and I could never tell if these people are being impersonated because they do impersonate people a lot, and I don't know. I'm not absolutely even positive that it is Ick that is there, because I only saw his face on a video screen talking to me. I don't know why he was on a video screen. That still puzzles me, but they said he's down with them and everything, and well, let's say I'm 99% sure, because that whole interview with him and Jesse Ventura, where Jesse was getting all up in arms about him, it was all staged. They talked about how it was going to go at the cloning center, like how it's going to unfold and everything. The whole program.
Reptilian agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura asked David Icke to, show me a reptilian. Can you take me to one?
Yeah.
He made David Icke look a little bit stupid at the time,
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the intention. That's the intention. They want to make Ick look like an idiot while talking about lizards and dimensions and shape-shifting scales coming out of your skin and stuff. And then have someone else, oh, you're an idiot. That's not true. And then he'll be like, well, yeah. And he did look kind of stupid. He looked like he's mentally handicapped or something. And then people will look to Jesse Ventura or Alex Jones, who also attends. And they'll say, oh, this guy is the real deal.
Alex Jones, that was my next question, Alex Jones.
Yep. I don't think he wants to attend. Like, not too many people that are there want to attend. It seems to me the only people that want to attend are the ones that are making good money, or if they're fat and ugly and they can't get laid in real life. That's really how it is. Like, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. Okay, another question for you, Donald. Sorry, we're going on a bit here, but this is so interesting. I've just got to carry on. The fact that we've had certain royals here in the UK going into hospital, apparently, recently, we've had Lizzie going in there, we've had Prince Philip with various problems, and many more. What's any views on all of that? That when we hear of so-called royals going into hospital, like Queen Elizabeth is going into this National Health Service hospital, and we see her coming out, and we see her coming out with a nurse with a satanic belt round her waist. What does all that mean? What's your view on all of that?
We're trying to put it out there. Yeah, I used to think
that
that it was...
Is that actually her for a start? Is that actually her, or is that a clone going in there and coming out?
It's unknown. She could be actually a dead, reanimated clone right now, or she could be a real... It's hard to tell, like, just by looking at them in the face. You'd have to be really familiar with them, because the skin is pretty much the same.
When you say you've met her in these places, in these wherever she's been, that you've met her, that is the real her, yeah?
At the cloning centers?
Yes.
Well, that'd be the clone, wouldn't it?
No, that would be the clone of her. That's an
the
Aryan
clone of her.
clone.
So you're always seeing the clone of her, basically, yeah?
Yep.
Whenever we see her in public, in any public place, that's always the real her, do you think? Or could that be a clone?
Oh, it's a clone sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes even musicians do concerts and use clones, like Beyonce.
Really?
Beyonce making her funny faces and stuff, and almost popping a vein out the side of her head in her concert there. She was a clone there. She's doing that on purpose. Beyonce wants out now. She's doing that on purpose to show you, hey, something's wrong. Look into this. I'm not going to tell you, because then I'll get killed, but...
So the thing that gets me, Donald, is whenever... I've always been a totally anti-royal person, just from nature, for my whole life, but whenever you see a so-called royal going into hospital from a so-called complication of health, my first reaction is, one, if they have a health problem, why would they be going into a hospital? Because they've probably got everything within, wherever they are, whatever facility they're living in, they've probably got everything there to help them anyway. Why would they be going into a hospital? Is the whole thing done to put us... Is it a propaganda thing, the whole thing of them going in hospital to make us think these people suffer like us and they go into hospitals like us? And is it them actually going in there, is what I'm asking?
Sometimes it's a clone. Sometimes it is them going into there because they need to get a reclone. They have to go into the next body.
Why would they go to a hospital though? Why wouldn't they do that in a cloning centre in private?
Well, maybe there's an underground shuttle that takes them somewhere to a base. Well, you don't know, do you?
True. Yeah, but why would they actually go to a hospital? My feeling is that this whole going to an NHS hospital thing is a total load of rubbish.
Could just be a cover.
There's a kind of clone that after you're dead, they reanimate you in, and you have to get recloned every 6 months to a year. They do it at like this Camp David hospital somewhere. The nurses down there say that they deal with the uglies. They call them the uglies, the scary uglies or something. It's pretty commonplace. They go in because the brain will degrade over time. It's like they had Eminem on a video there, and he was talking like he had just had a stroke. His slurred speech and everything. It was because, well, they did that intentionally as a joke. He needed to be recloned or go into his next clone. They're trying to put it out there in the public now because they don't know what to do, and they know if they take the first step, they might be killed. So they're using me to take the first step. Only the stuff is so complex with technologies and stuff, and they all intermix and mingle. It starts getting a little weird sounding, right? And so I gotta try to stick to the basics, tell people about this, because once people go, yeah, okay, that's true about the cloning, then everybody's going to know that the lizards are real, the hosts are real, and everything else is real too.
Why did Queen Elizabeth, Lizzie, as I prefer to call her, go into hospital recently from so-called stomach problems? I mean, and she had to cancel their tour to Rome to see the Pope. All of this to me just kind of like makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Well, the pedophile investigation stuff, that kind of threw them for a loop. Like, they knew that they were hung up on it, but they didn't. I guess this Jimmy Savile guy had a lot of evidence against him, and it's linked to her. Like, when I first started writing my letter there, I told everybody, yeah, there's a bunch of pedophiles, super pedophiles, and people were like, oh, you should be shot for talking about the Queen like that. But they all came back later and they said, okay, so maybe you're right, yeah. And it was funny. I got all kinds of friends on my friends list. But Elizabeth going into hospital like that, and different people playing sick and stuff, they can go into hospital and not be bothered by investigators, right? Because they're too ill to be questioned. Like,
right.
It's just like when, you know, the Vatican had that sex party and that 13-year-old went missing in there, and her father rounded up everybody, and they went out into Vatican Square there, and they're like, where's my daughter? She went in here and she didn't come out. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? They stayed out there for days. I don't know how long. They didn't do anything. They just sat out there and waited. The Pope didn't step out on his balcony to answer. The police didn't go in to get the Pope and ask him. Nobody did anything, and eventually the people got cold and wet and went home. So still nobody knows what happened to that girl, but they killed that girl down in the basement.
Okay, so what you're saying in a way is that almost the fact that the Queen went into hospital at that point, even if it was her, even if it wasn't her, how the hell do we know? The whole thing was done to create sympathy for them, so that the sheep will think, oh my God, the poor Queen's ill, and it takes distraction from what's actually happening out there. And I just wanted to ask you, because I know you're actually in Canada, do you actually know about Kevin and it?
Yeah, I've spoken to him. I was trying to tell him about the residential school stuff, because there's a discrepancy in his evidence and stuff, and I was going to clear it up for him.
And what was that?
They said all these native kids, they remember Philip and Elizabeth and other people showing up on certain days.
Yeah.
These were very scary times to them, and they burned these dates into their brains so that they could remember the future. Now, the problem was, these dates don't line up with visits to Canada from the royal family. The thing is, they weren't really there. They were clones. They were clones in Canada. They were asleep in England and running around in REM clones here in Canada. What they would do, they would take the kids out for a picnic, a group of 5 kids. They would take one kid into the woods, and these kids were molested, all kinds. So they would bring them into the woods, and the kids would think, oh, I'm just going to get molested again, because they're used to it. And they would tie them up, and they would think that was just part of the whole thing, right? But when they tied them up, they would strangle them and watch them in the eyes until they died. They said it gave them some kind of a sexual pleasure or something, right? And then the kids wouldn't go back to their beds in the dorms and in the residencies and stuff, and the kids would say, "I'll remember this day forever," when Queen Elizabeth...
What they were actually saying as well at one of those instances, though, Donald, is that the 10 kids didn't actually come back at all. They just were never seen again.
Yeah.
Yeah? So they were inferring that they were killed, basically, yeah?
There was a bunch of that, but sometimes it was just a few out of the group that were brought into the woods, and then they just never came back. But some of the kids that were in that group got returned to the school and just, they've never heard or seen those kids again.
Would any of those kids gone to a facility underground, you reckon, Donald?
It's possible, feeding lizards. People have been sneaking lizards, kids for centuries now.
Did you manage to get any reply of Kenneth Annett?
Yeah, he...
Or did he think you were just going so far left field that he just couldn't believe it?
That could have been it. I understand his position, though. Like, he's got his thing. It's all lined up and prepared. He can't start talking about clones and lizards now and mess it all up, right? Like, he might have been able to take them all down with what he had. But,
I know he has talked about the Picton Farm thing. I know he's definitely mentioned that, by the way.
Yeah, I told him some of that, yeah. Yeah, but Queen Elizabeth and Ratzinger are not in prison yet, so, I don't think, and he won his court case and everything. Nothing happened. Yeah. So,
So, you see, my view on all of this, again, is that people like Ratzinger got into... A lot of people are sort of like questioning the fact that he's... A lot of people in this truther movement, shall I say, are saying the fact that Ratzinger has resigned is a good sign and we're on a good point here because it's falling down. And my view is that he was always meant to be in power, even with his background with the Nazi side of him. The whole thing's been orchestrated. He was always meant to be there anyway. And the fact that he's resigned now has been orchestrated to a certain extent in some way too. I'm a bit suspicious about all of this, is all I'm going to say, Donald, and I've said this a few times on my show. I just feel sometimes we're still being orchestrated to some extent. I don't know if you've got any views on that, but it's just the way I feel.
Yeah, it's all set up. From the Pharisees, they're setting up prophecy stuff to happen, and I guess this is the part where the last pope comes in.
Yeah,
right?
The Black Pope?
Well, there's another one. There's the head of the Jesuits is the Black Pope, and then they got this new pope here, and now they're saying that he's a Black Pope as well. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because I was led to believe that within the Illuminati there was two factions that have been fighting over each other for hundreds of years: the Second World War, the Russian Revolution. That's the Zionist Jews and the Odin Aryan race, or the Fourth Reich, if you like. But you're going to come together.
You're right.
Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, you're right. But there's more factions though. There's like just even the Chinese Triad faction, the Japanese Yakuza faction. Then there's all the other governments, and they pretty much, some of them are allied in the same faction, some of them aren't. Some of them are independent. There's a bunch of different factions though, but they were all collected into it, and most of them don't even want to be there, and they're all hoping that I do something. Like, they're telling me that I'm being slack, saying, "You're not doing enough, darling. Get out there. You need to sing a song on camera." I said, "No, I don't want to sing a song."
A lot of people I know will be thinking the same thing. How come you know so much about all of this? I mean, as far as what you said is you're a songwriter that's been, and I understand what you said about how you've been infiltrated in there as being a songwriter to try and escape what could have happened to you, and you started doing the song type. But how come you seem to know so much about all of it?
I'll tell you all about it. It's easily to explain. When I was a little kid, what was the most exciting thing there? Like, this kid that made all the cool songs, right? Like, wait till you hear about the amount of songs. It's absurd. It's going to make me look like some kind of freak. But when I was there, people like Vladimir Putin, he wants to get up and talk and interact in front of all the celebrities that are there. So he'll be up and he'll say, we have this technology, look at what we can do, right? And then they're all, it was like they were trying to show off by showing me what they could do and what they had and stuff. And then I was a member right?
Yeah.
I was never a member. I was always trying to deceive them until the day I could destroy them. And, but I faked being a friend. So then they're like, look what we can do. And everybody's showing me different things. And then Elizabeth's, well, we have this. And they're showing me all this stuff. And then with how good I did the songs and stuff, people wanted me to give them advice on political bullshit because they said that I thought outside the box and that I gave them an option that they hadn't even thought of in the past. Like with a certain situation, they said I thought outside the box. So I was talking to them all. They're all asking me different points for advice and stuff. A little kid. And I would give it, and it got worse and worse. It was like the songs. I would give them good ideas for stuff, and they would do it. And they just kept on coming back, and then everybody's getting annoyed with Elizabeth's croak at the cloning center because she's rah, 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 talking all the time. So then Vladimir will stand up. Yes, I'm going to do this and oh man. Medvedev's there too, and China and Russia are the worst too. China and Russia are the worst too. They think if everything goes my way, that they're going to be like villainized.
Some of us believe that we hear about all these so-called problems between certain countries with regards to Russia, America, Great Britain, China, whatever. And a lot of us think that the people that rule this world, there isn't any barriers, that there isn't any fighting really. They're all in it together. It's all pretend, all these so-called disputes between these countries.
You are right for the most part, but then sometimes problems will spring up. And they can spring up so easy.
But do they work together mainly, though, would you say, as a rule, those people?
Oh, totally.
One big thing, yeah?
Yeah, but see, all the celebrities there, they all show off for the celebrities so bad. It's like if one Asian leader there makes fun of another Asian leader there and makes them look stupid in front of, like, Brangelina, you know, they get pissed. And they start saber rattling, they call it. And I'll do this to you, I'll do this to you. We have this, we'll use this, right? And then it's a big thing, and then it's a big drama there. You got to talk it down. The richest people in the world are the heads of religious sects, right? Because they've been getting donations for thousands of years. They've been getting the golden jewels for thousands of years. They're the richest people. So basically, they buy people. They buy people's loyalty and ensure their loyalty with fear of man-made hell, death after death of clones. It's a really good deterrent from talking. But since they said they were going to do that to me anyway, I got nothing to lose. Because when they were going on with the Jesus talk, trying to say I was Jesus, there was a bunch of people there that were saying, well, we're Luciferians, and Lucifer wants us to get Jesus and torture him in the next century. And we'll get as a devotion to our God, and we'll get good luck and good fortune for doing it. And they call it fleecing the lamb. So then I was kind of worried.
With regards to, a lot of us are being told that if a lot of us sort of emphasize this positive energy within us, and we try and counteract all of this by feeling positive and feeling good and giving out this really good energy. Have you got any views on that?
Good intentions. World's built on good intentions, but the destruction of the world will be the complacency of people.
Right.
Just sitting there and going, I hope everything works out.
So it's all about action. It's all about getting out there, doing something to change this and turn it all around, which is what we're trying to do at Critical Mass Radio. Right.
I wonder, Donald, here's a good question for you. Now, you've talked about the reptilians, and you've talked about the Illuminati, but what about the outside influences of ET from other places that are actually visiting Earth, interacting with our governments? Did they have a say in the matter?
Oh yeah, they say that there is something out there, but I'm not sure if there is. They showed me Vril Type 3 looking thing. It was brown. It had 4 buck teeth. Okay, they called it a Zeta Reticulum, and I don't know if that's just a gene spliced Vril Type 3, like to look a little bit different.
Well, in 2001, they had at the press club in Washington, they had a big UFO conference, and Sergeant Stone said that he had catalogued, he had the highest clearance. He had catalogued 50, the American government had catalogued 57 different types of alien species that were visiting or had been to the Earth. Whether they were coming from the inner Earth or whatever, or from outside or different dimensions or God knows what else, different timelines.
Thing with that is, sometimes they get people there as clones and they try to mess them up. They say, look, we have this turkey thing. It's a turkey, it's an evolved turkey. It comes from the Orion Nebula, whatever. It's just a splice thing with someone's consciousness barely running it coherently, right?
Yeah.
They have, there's another thing. There's an evolved kind of turtle. It's called a kappa. Lives underneath Japan. They're protecting them there because, I don't know. They wrote about them all in the old woodblock prints and stuff, but they're not as smart as lizards, and they're not a threat at all. They're just, and they're not parasitic. They don't body snatch. They're evolved turtles, I guess. Like, I never even talked about them that much because they're not really relevant to, well, they're relevant, but like the stuff that I've told people about is hard to fathom enough that I'm going to add in evolved turtles. Like,
yeah, I understand. Yeah.
You mentioned Japan. A lot of people, this Benjamin Fulford, for one, has been saying this, that the tsunami that hit Japan was caused by a nuclear bomb that was planted under the seabed deliberately.
Yep, I was there when it was going down. Kim Jong-il wanted to get Japan before he died. He always wanted to get Japan. Korea's hated Japan since like 1300s or something. Japan was always trying to invade the mainland. Anyway, so it's an ancient hatred. Kim Jong-il wanted to get Japan before he died. He actually wanted to nuke them, but you have to have permission from the Illuminati to do big things like this. And he set off that nuke underneath the seafloor and started.
So it was a nuke, right? That's what you're saying it was.
I'm not sure if it was a nuke or if it was a HARP controlled by their country or whatever, but they caused it. Kim Jong-il caused it without permission. He asked, can I do this to Japan? And they said, no, you can't. That'll cause too much destruction in the world, all the nuclear stuff. No. The coast has the nuke things on there. He did it anyway.
Fukushima, where it was built, was so, like, unbelievably such a danger zone anyway. Apart from that, was that all orchestrated too?
No, they just only have so many places to put the things. Like, you might have noticed that Kim died right after that. They made him have an aneurysm. They put the electricity to his clone, but they didn't give him no pain. He got a shot of heroin when he got his electrical current put to his clone. And he had an aneurysm. His son takes over. He doesn't care. Kim is still kicking around as an undead clone. He was pretty crazy. He's a pretty crazy person. The whole country over there is pretty whack.
So in a way then, what Benjamin Fulford was saying was true then, yeah?
I'm not sure everything that he said.
But he said he was actually, as you said, what is it, the group that he was supposed to be. I don't think he was with them. I think he was with the White Dragon Society. Yeah, and they were opposed to the other lot.
He's with a specific one called the Yamaguchi Gumi.
Yeah, are they the white, like the white hats, if you like?
They're the most powerful Yakuza guys, and they lord over the other Yakuza guys. But
he worked for Forbes magazine, and he ended up in Japan as one of the main guys there, and he's done all this digging, and he's people have entrusted him, and that's how he's got this high-tech information. And he said that the tsunami was going to happen, and Mount Fujiyama, he forecasted them before they actually happened, so either they had prior knowledge to it.
China doesn't like how advanced Japan is. Japan's infrastructure is way better than theirs and everything. China is very jealous.
The story Benjamin Fulford put out there was that from the Second World War, Japan wanted their money back. It was trillions of dollars, and he wouldn't give them that back. And he said, keep on about it, we're going to do something about it. That's the story Benjamin Fulford put across. that they